I love Teen Titans. This was my childhood and honestly the precursor to becoming the person I am today, falling in love with the animation as a whole. So I decided to rewatch every single episode and see why I would personally rank them because I feel like it's important to remember such an icon of a TV series instead of just ignoring it for a dumb kids version that appeals to insane meta humor instead of using its own characters to enhance the writing. Because apparently that's the thing that's now happening with Teen Titans Go. This is a bit experimental for me, so you think it'd be logical enough for me to go through each individual season and rank every episode per said season. And you'd be right to think that. But I hate myself and want to suffer, so I'm doing it all at once. This has got to be the worst yet best idea Teen Titans has done. Cyborg living in primitive times was a cool concept enough, but there are just so many problems with this and it tries to force a lesson that Cyborg himself didn't even need to learn. Why does he need to learn that he needs to use more primitive tactics of fighting to appeal to his more human side? Why does he have to be in some bland, boring relationship when he literally cannot survive? Why does the history book say he's not wearing armor when he literally wore their armor? This episode is probably the one I'll genuinely call terrible, whereas the rest of them range a small amount of bad episodes to perfection. Also, this is just the worst episode to come right after this shocking, emotional, horrific experience that is Birthmark. It's a very forced conflict between Beast Boy and Aqualad, and Beast Boy is way too overconfident than normal in this episode. Trident was such a lame one-off, and overall was just a boring episode. Honestly, very underused with this idea. It's barely explained why Starfire was transforming, and the conclusion felt very short and rushed. It was cool seeing the different planets, and the Spider-Woman's design was cool, I guess, but that's about it. The final fight was cool. There's a lot of fun visuals with Mad Mod as usual. Yeah, that's about it. This episode is just so preachy, it feels like they're giving history lessons that slapped on the face of the Titans. I knew something was wrong when Beast Boy was informing us on history. Whatever, it's fun I guess, it just wasn't engaging at all. Kind of a rushed conclusion of this pretty silly separation plotline, but this really should have been the part of the episode. It's a better introduction to the Titans, even if Final Exam had a better setup on the villains. A really standard filler episode. It's fine and cute enough, but nothing too special about it. Soto is a cute character though, and the ending was pretty wholesome. This is a very weird episode to have all the way in season 4 out of the 5 seasons of the show. Having a misunderstanding on Starfire and Robin's relationship is fine and all, but their relationship feels far too developed now where something like this wouldn't happen. I think I'd rather prefer this a little bit before Date with Destiny where they were still very mixed as a couple. Other than that, it's a fine enough episode. I didn't really care that much about the space stuff other than the Raven section of the episode, which was admittedly hilarious. This would have gotten a higher score if this wasn't the episode directly after the 3-parter season finale. It's such a weird place for a filler episode. The episode itself is entertaining enough, but I just don't get why this had to be right before the season 4 finale. You'll see later on the list that this has been a reoccurring problem with the show for me, but it's especially apparent here. Mother May I is a fun villain though, and the ending actually got a laugh out of me. But then all that laughter is immediately turned into despair as I watched an episode titled The End. This is a fun introduction to Mad Mod. I love this unique school shtick and his hypno gimmicks. Very creative visuals during the chase scene. The Beast Boy joke gets old quickly and I kinda wish the hypno made them fight against each other, posing Mad Mod as an even bigger threat. Kinda crazy seeing a Beast Boy Gizmo team up. Cyborg's wackiness was hilarious, and Beast Boy's plan at the end was actually clever that I didn't even know he could do. I wish the inside of Cyborg got more visually creative though, rather than just a bunch of long tube hallways in the central core, which is just straight up the Death Star core.
You're the nasty egg people who stole all my waffles!
It really took Dr. Light 5 seasons to be slightly intimidating, and he still gets jabbed at. Pretty forgettable honestly. Cole and Goodnight's relationship is cute enough to keep the episode going, and I'm always loving jabs at Dr. Light. Other than that, there's really not much going on. Yeah, I hate Beast Boy in this. I praised part 1 later about showing how matured Beast Boy is now, but here he's just awful. He's barely willing to call out Mentor's closed-minded thinking, and they try to force a reconciliation with him and Beast Boy shortly after all of their friends was presumed dead. I loved how Elastigirl was subtly hinting at how the rest of Doom Patrol just put up with Mentor to make things easier, but it never goes anywhere. Lastly, it's just really stupid how every single villain shows up to Brain's lair, even though some of them are supposed to be dead or incapacitated. It's a harmless episode enough. Nice introduction to see some new side hero for Titans, and overall the fight scenes were really well done. It feels like Robin and Cyborg's roles should be reversed here though, where Cyborg is more selfish so Robin is more observant, and I should never gotten to Beta at the end. I think I actually would have loved to see that more than this one. It's a little cliche at times, but it appealed to Star's insecurities and it's a great establishment of Robin and Star's relationship. I like how they simply start off as friends, and Starfire starts to form some feelings for Robin because he's able to show her the wonders of Earth in a very laid-back way that no other Titan could. Seeing Beast Boy with a pet was actually really sweet to see. I probably would have found this funnier if Starfire and Beast Boy argued more about how to take care of Silky until they had to get rid of him. Also, I forgot that this was a Silky episode, and I honestly thought this was going to be about Cyborg repairing Johnny's dog and keeping him as a pet, and the more I think about it, the more I would have found that funnier. Fun body splitting episode. Definitely one of the less deep episodes, but wholesome enough to see the two understand each other and see that they're not much different from one another. Puppet Master is kinda a standard one-off, so I'm glad he basically died at the end of the episode. I sure hope I never have to see him again. Very lighthearted episode. Nice to see Cyborg actually building something. I love the relationship with Raven and Cyborg here. Kinda weird how no other Titans showed up during the car chase scene, and it's a little ridiculous to believe that Cyborg didn't put a tracking system or a better security system for his car, but nonetheless, it's still a nice breather episode. I honestly really didn't think this should be separated into two parts here, but instead had the second part be a later episode in the season to set up the brain more. Other than that, it's a really not that funny of an episode, even though it's a Beast Boy episode. The Doom Patrol just aren't that memorable of a team, and Cyborg calling them legends feels weird because they've never been mentioned before on the show. Other than that, I like exploring Beast Boy's origin more and showing how far he's grown both in strength and in maturity. He feels more focused on a mission, and that makes sense considering how close he was with the Doom Patrol. This was kind of a disappointment, honestly. The only good fight scene was the one with the monkey and the final fight where Robin used all of the skills he learned. Other than that, I feel like this said so little but tried to say so much about Robin's reliance on weapons that has forgotten the old ways of martial arts. Also, the True Master twist was way too obvious from the beginning. And honestly, a lot of this episode was just a bunch of cliches that weren't executed well until the last 5 minutes or so. But all the times wearing Robin's clothes was hilarious, so I gotta give this episode a couple points for that. The whole episode is a little predictable with Red Star, though I kinda was surprised that the villain is a manifestation of his powers. I really don't like Starfire snapping at Red Star. It feels a little too out of character for her. That I feel like there should have been a much bigger explosion of this blob thing that was overloaded with Red Star's power. Though Starfire and Red Star's relationship is wholesome and really carried the whole episode. A very fun and creative episode. Larry is such a delightful little fucker, and seeing Robin fail this badly was interesting to see. Johnny was an interesting enough villain for the final act as a one-off, but I find it ridiculous that nobody could catch Johnny when he was still human. Fun Halloween-esque episode with some legitimately scary visuals here and there. Kinda weird how this was Control Freak's first appearance, seeing as he's only in within the first 5 minutes, but it was still a delight to see him. The ending was also very sweet, with Raven accepting her fear. Look, I know these kids are supposed to be annoying, but they're very rarely charming. I wish there were at least a couple more good moments other than Melvin's advice to build more to Raven growing attached to the kids. Her figuring out that they were captain and saying,
"Nobody messes with my kids,"
itself was very sweet though, and Bobby was a very cute character that I could definitely see the whole time, and trust me on that. Great emphasis on the villains and build up to Slade. I like how the pilot focuses more on the Titans' weaknesses, making it more satisfying when they win in the end. But also it's a cool setup for when they grow as characters throughout the rest of the show. Giving Raven of all people a love interest is out there, but it's not a terrible idea. She's very grounded in this episode, and she feels a lot more relatable here than most other Teen Titans episodes. Probably should have toned down her emotions a lot more here. It feels a tad too over the top for Raven, but it's still fine. Absolutely hilarious episode. Kin's annoying, but in a very humorous way. I would have liked more of Killer Mile trying to be a dad. I think it was a little too early for the show to show Starfire be this open about her feelings for Robin. But overall, a very delightful episode, and the Kin twist was actually kinda cool. Such an iconic episode. This was one of the episodes I remember the most before this rewatch. Nufu was such a hilariously stupid villain, and I love it. The conflict is resolved so easily in a very humorous way. I think the fast-paced conflict works because, bro, it's just alien tofu. I couldn't breathe when Beast Boy just put it in the fridge, but I was just wheezing when Cyborg ate Nufu.
I don't mind. Once when I was 7 years old, I sat on a banana. And of course, that changed my life.
Nothing is wrong with the television. Do not attempt to close the video. Your regularly scheduled YouTube will not be seen because I control the network. I control the horizontal. I control the vertical. And the suggested videos that you don't know why they're there? I know why they're there. From this moment on, your recommendations belong to me, Cabbage Boy. Very ambitious episode that I don't think particularly delivered on some occasion, mostly during the middle of the episode. The ending was great, but I think it should have played off more Beast Boy's TV nods to make the ending funnier. Also, this probably would have been higher if this was actually Control Freak's first episode, heightening the tension in the intro and his plan instead of having him already appear in Fear itself. Oh boy, I love me some shape-shifting episodes. Hotspot probably should have figured out that Robin was Vooz a lot sooner, but it was still fun nonetheless. I really liked the fight scene between Robin and Vooz. The choreography of Vooz's power was really well done. My biggest issue that brings the episode down a lot is the ending. Hotspot can be seen as very naive, but Robin should have 100% not have immediately believed this was really Hotspot. This wouldn't pose as much of an issue if this wasn't the biggest reason as why Vooz and the Brain could hunt down the rest of the Titans. It's a small issue that goes a really long way with setting up the rest of the season, and I feel like it's way too out of character for Robin to be this trusting after seeing Vooz's duplication abilities firsthand. It's a standard werewolf episode that kinda surprised me at the end. The first half where Beast Boy was mean was kinda whatever, but the second half jumped in quality with Robin's interrogation and when Beast Boy and Raven have a heart-to-heart. Talking about how it wasn't the chemicals that created the beast, only brought out Beast Boy, but that's nothing to be afraid of. It's great how Thunder and Lightning reflect on Beast Boy's nature with a pretty good message at the end. This episode is very experimental on Slade with his rituals and his disguises that is really never seen again, and I'm honestly kinda disappointed on that.
They also have gifts, but they use them for good, while we waste ours on dangerous fun. If we are so special, brother, let us act special. We must help.
But how? Our gifts can only destroy.
True, but together we have another gift.
Kinda crazy how I prefer this over the television warping episode. Control Freak was a lot funnier and was more than just a bunch of TV references here. The Titans East being forgettable was a bit of a tired joke, but the message boards about the Titans and Titans East was some fun meta humor. I love how Control Freak just being an outright nerd for the heroes and fighting them simply because it's fun. Also, this episode has Bon Voyage.
And Incrediboy!
Now I remember why I love Mumbo so much. Other than he's also the Ice King.
Dun, da, 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 dun, dun. Making your way in the world today takes everything you've got. Taking a break from all your worries sure would help a lot.
His song is spectacularly funny and visually fun along with the rest of this episode. I think the plan at the end was kinda hard to believe, but then again it's a Mumbo episode I'm talking about. Very creative episode that didn't mostly use basic magic stereotypes. This episode also gets lowered simply because I had to type out this insanely long episode title both in script and in video. Yes, that is the actual reason.
Is he allowed to say that legally?
Pretty standard time travel episode, but it's nice to see how Star's unrelenting optimism is the thing that can hold the team together. It's a very bittersweet ending that works really well. It's nice to see Starfire overcome her own antagonist in this one. Blackfire's return was definitely a shock, but her plan was weirdly well thought out. I honestly thought the war stuff was real, and the episode got 10 times better when it wasn't any of that. Also, Starfire's caretaker is one of the cutest Teen Titans characters, right up there with Larry and Mumbo. Fantastic one-off villain that leads into a genuinely heartwarming conclusion with Cyborg at the end. Also, Mumbo is a complete riot as usual and a unique rogue in this show, even if his chase with the fix-it plot can be a bit off-putting tonally.
So beautiful. I had forgotten how beautiful. The world. Through your eyes.
Through human eyes. The same kind you have.
Perhaps I am the one in need of repairs.
And maybe I'm the guy who can help repair you.
Honestly, I ended up liking this episode more than I thought. I was half expecting Cyborg to secretly use the Maximum 7 behind the Titan's back, but I was delightfully wrong. It talks about addiction and how it could make you lose a part of yourself very subtly and it's not in your face about it. And I like how in the end he was willing to accept letting go of the 7 without any over-dramatized argument because of how well developed the Titans are with each other at this point in the show. Billy's powers were a little inconsistent at the end and how many duplicates he could make given how much he's made before, but it's a minor thing that doesn't hurt the creative decision behind Cyborg's plan.
Friend, did you not have any of the sleep?
The Fitness Gram Pacer test is a multi-stage aerobic capacity test that progressively gets more difficult as it continues.
The more I think about it, the less I like Terras' betrayal. Like, yeah, Slade manipulated her after her leave, but I wish there was some more explanation as to why she decided to turn against the Titans in this episode. Nice change of pace seeing a Beast Boy and Slade fight, and it was really charming to see Terra save Beast Boy from her own betrayal, showing that maybe there could have been some hope for her. There's weirdly a lot of animosity between Cyborg and Robin. That's kind of my biggest problem with both parts of this two-parter. Other than that, Titans East is so distinctly different in both skills and personality than Teen Titans, and I love that. And it's great that they are never on the same page even after the first battle. The final fight with the Hive robots and Brother Blood was also really intense. I'm glad it took up a good portion of the episode, showing how hard of a battle it was for everybody, sexing it off between each Titan multiple times throughout. I literally just found out on this rewatch that it's titled Go because of the phrase Titans Go, but they weren't a real team yet, so the Titans in the phrase is cut out. It's a standard enough origin story. I kinda wish the Starfire fight was shorter so that they can build a relationship more, but they each get their own individual moments regardless. I also really like how each Titan feels so underdeveloped here. It's a nice way to reflect on how far they've come when the show is almost over. Such a roller coaster of an episode. Bumblebee and Cyborg have such a cute and fun dynamic, and Brother Blood feels a lot more as Cyborg's personal villain now. The idea of Cyborg's blueprints also connecting to his emotions and memories is very clever, and it makes sense that he's hellbent on getting revenge on him for it. The ending is really all that bumped up this episode so far above part 1. I still have problems with Robin and Cyborg's hate towards each other, but at least there isn't some over-dramatized apology about it. But the ending is so much better than both part 1 and realistically most of part 2 of Titans East. It feels like a real conclusion to Cyborg's arc that he's had all the way from some of his parts to here. Feeling complete and whole, accepting his robot half and learning that he never lost anything from when he was human.
I don't need you to make me a man. I already am one.
Red X unironically carried this episode, but honestly, it's a fun racing episode nonetheless. The Starfire and Raven stuff was a little dull, but everything else was exciting. I'll never get tired of seeing the T-card break down almost every time it's used. And as usual, Red X will always make episodes bump up to higher scores than they realistically should. However, I will never forgive this episode for not showing what's in the briefcase, so it is a lot lower than what I originally thought. This is almost my favorite Cyborg episode about pushing past your limits and realizing that he's not just a robot, he's still human, and that's used to his strength instead of being his weakness. Atlas was a great Cyborg villain. I loved how he loses because he was mean to the mechanic, who also has a really nice arc in this. Though the first half between the training and Alice's first fight dragged on for a little bit too long, and honestly I feel like there should have been 2 fights instead of 3. Great introduction to Red X and Robin's obsession with Slade. The mystery behind Red X in the first half is well done. I like seeing Robin devolve due to his obsessions. I would have really liked to see this in a later episode and more Slade appearances to hammer in why Robin is so obsessed, but it still works. Such a lovable character that uses a simple uncontrollable power trope with such grace. I love how she loses control even when she tries to help, leading into why she's alone. The ending is a little weird, and I was hoping Terra leaving was more focused on Slade's manipulation rather than Beast Boy quote-unquote lying. Very creative episode about exploring Raven's complexity. It used a lot of foreshadowing and build-up for future Raven episodes that works tremendously. Though the cutaway to Robin and Starfire was very dumb and dragged on for a little too long. This whole episode is a result of a major problem I had in Trust, and that's the main reason why it's a lot lower. Whatever, it's still a fun hero losing experience, and it's still nice to see all the Titans being picked off one by one. I think I'd much rather prefer seeing episodes dedicated to some minor Titans shown here than the ones we already got because their powers seem a lot more interesting. Kid Flash is such a great character here. He's such fun to watch, seeing him convince Jinx to just plain fucking with everyone in the Hive. I love how Jinx is trying to attain a status that they as a Hive just realistically aren't cut out for. That, and like the rest of the team have stated, is simply not who they are. Seeing Jinx learn by watching Madame Moose being a dick is a lot better than simply listening to Kid Flash. Also, this is the first episode in a while that I've legitimately laughed several times. It's such a fun time with a lot of character growth for Jinx.
Here, Billy, I stole me one of them, ice sweeper thingies. I'll race you, Billy.
There are a lot of reasons why I love this series, but this is one of the episodes that solidified that idea. Able to perfectly parallel real-world conflicts into a show without losing significance of these characters or the world around them. I'm not gonna lie, this feels more like a season 1 episode more than all the way in season 4, where there are a lot more plot-relevant episodes. But besides that, this is such an inspiring episode for kids and can still resonate with adults here.
I'm sorry Val treated you like that. If I'd known, I never would have let it happen.
None of us would.
There is nothing you could have done. There will always be people who say mean words because you are different, and sometimes their minds cannot be changed. But there are many more people who do not judge others based on how they look or where they are from. Those are the people whose words truly matter.
Definitely not as grand as some of the other ones, but I love the slice of life episode where we get to see Cyborg and the Hive act like normal kids. It's a nice change of pace that I would have liked to see more of.
I've been learning their combat technique, weapons, armor, and we had a dance.
I also enjoyed seeing Cyborg reminisce about how he missed out on a lot in his life, so a scene where he destroys his robot self feels real to an extent, even if it was to trick Blood. A very delightful Robin episode. The one posing Red X is someone I wish I could have seen more of throughout the show. It would have been really cool seeing someone with a morally gray area more. Then I think he ties in well with Robin learning from his mistakes as Red X. Both of them were able to do the right thing in the end, so it's sad that we don't get to see more of them working together. Despite how I feel about the betrayal itself, Terra as a villain was executed extremely well. I loved watching the Titans struggle to finish her off, giving her another chance. And even still, there was some potential with her because of Slade's interface, possibly betraying Terra as a failsafe. While this episode is still great, I get the feeling this was very anticlimactic. For what seems like a series finale, this does tie up everything very nicely with all the main characters. But at the same time, I feel like there was a lot to be desired when it came to the Brain and his connection to Beast Boy as his villain. Though give credit where it's due, by the time of this finale, with Beast Boy showing his maturity and acting more of a leader here, every character feels complete. Like, I don't think this episode alone could ever complete this band of great cast of main characters and even main villains, considering Jinx has now become somewhat of an anti-hero. I think this is the type of finale that doesn't necessarily need to be heavily character driven to tie up all the loose ends of the show. But I do wish that the Brain had more build up as the main antagonist of this season. But overall, fantastic fights and overall a very good soft finale for the show. Amazing Slade episode. Great showcase of Slade being the criminal mastermind. The dynamic between Robin and Slade is haunting, and it's great that Robin's mistakes from Mask isn't forgotten about. The final fight is great, with a very scary ending. You know, something about Slade teaming up with Robin kind of rubs me the wrong way. I'm not sure what though, something about it just feels off. Maybe it's because of Slade being alive at all? Despite that, this episode is still phenomenal. I love how all the Titans have to face the worst parts of themselves, and it's made very clear that these darker halves are tied to their insecurities and flaws instead of being mindless puppets of Jargon. And Raven's plan to save the Titans, despite knowing the prophecy would be fulfilled, really makes you think that maybe there is a glimmer of light beyond all of this. And as much as I still don't prefer, Slade and Robin's team up was still amazing to see. Like, come on, how can you not love seeing this? Such a visceral action with probably one of my favorite fights in the show with the Worms and Slade in the final act. It's nice to see Terra and Raven slowly learn to trust each other and become friends. It honestly makes it all the more heartbreaking when Terra does betray them, especially once she gets her own room. Spectacular accents, sweet tender moments with a lot more to desire. Insane second part of this spectacular two-parter. Slade's connection to Robin is extremely strong, with Robin using Slade's obsession with him to his advantage. I was really worried for the Titans that if they survive, but it's a very satisfying ending. Though this really should have been the season finale instead of Car Trouble. The uncertainty, the terror, the hope, and despair. All of this makes this first part exceptional. There is no clear sign as to how things are going to end. The Titans used every bit of strength that they could save Raven, but in the end, it didn't matter. Slade was realistically the weakest part about this, and his quote-unquote death was kinda weird. But other than that, a true masterpiece of an episode. Kinda crazy how much I don't like her betrayal, but the decision made with Terra after were literal perfection. There was such true anger coming from Terra with the Titans, but made the conscious choice to turn against Slade and do the right thing. for herself and her friends that she once knew. You can tell so clearly that Slade was still angry from Robin's betrayal that he projected that onto Terra. Terra asking Beast Boy to kill her was really sad to see, only for Beast Boy to snap her out of it, saying that whether good or bad, that she's always had a choice. And in the end, she made the right one. The first canon death to a major character feels so final and tragic, even if there was a way to reverse her effects. It's no doubt that this is where Raven's character starts to shine in the season, starting with this phenomenal episode. Robin and Raven's relationship here is probably one of my favorite dynamics out of any of the other Titans, spiritually and emotionally connected that I honestly did not expect. Slade's return is terrifying, becoming an agent of chaos for Trigon with his manipulation tactics and his new powers is like true fear into Raven. And I seriously cannot believe that they got away with this scene here. It's kinda insane how they were unhinged with Raven's character and her dark future to come here. I wish Robin's reasons for his hallucinations were more ambiguous, but other than that, this is a perfect episode. It's honestly insane how much they were able to get away with showing off just how real Robin's fear was of Slade. It also perfectly encapsulates Robin's strength and weaknesses as a character. How he's so determined, but how that can lead to genuine insanity, where I really wish that it wasn't Slade who affected Robin's mind. The difference between what was the gas and what was real PTSD was honestly just very hard to tell. Not gonna lie, I didn't think that anything would top Haunted, but yet here we are. That's probably not going to be the first time I say that either. I don't know, by the time I'm writing this I have like 4 episodes left, so it seems unlikely. Raven being a kid, facing her abusive father is so awe-inspiring and captivating. Everything from Robin and young Raven to Slade's revival to Raven facing her abusive father is true perfection. And Robin's speech to Raven is something special. She was given a fate so horrific that no person would realistically go forward with their life after hearing that they exist to destroy. But without even thinking about it, Raven hoped for more. She joined the Titans and fought against evil. She saved her friends despite everything for a shot of taking down Trigon. She subconsciously gave Robin the hope to keep going. I'll always have a place in my heart for Robin and his character, but Raven has now become my favorite Titan.
Why can't things just go back to the way they were? You were so happy then.
Things were never the way you remember. Now just leave me alone.
Here, take this. In case you're in trouble, in case you need me, you can call me anytime.
I don't need it.
But...
Time's up.
Terra...
Things changed, Beast Boy. The girl you want me to be is just a memory.
Not gonna lie, I didn't think anything else would top Haunted, but yet here we are. This might come off as a bit of a hot take, but I think this needs to be said. Things changed is perfect. Yeah, the villain's a little ambiguous. Yeah, there's no clear explanation of whether Terra is back or not. Yeah, none of it mattered because of a cancelled season 6 that's never gonna happen. But I don't think that was the point of the episode. The point of this imagery of Terra being alive is to show how the world constantly changes. From the beginning of the episode, we see Jump City as a completely different city to what the Titans have left it. But it's something that they needed to accept, and that perfectly reflects on what we see here. Terra is here to simply exist to reflect on the entire series, and how things are constantly changing, but the importance isn't that they change, it's the ability to move on and accept this new reality and the world you're living in. To accept the things that you cared about are gone. To accept loss and the people you once loved have passed on, and all you can do now is to embrace change so you are able to move on with your life. And well, that's all Teen Titans is about. Each individual character had their own struggles and issues with their past that drastically affected their present day life. Cyborg was haunted by the trauma of his accident, losing the balance between his human half and his robot half. Starfire was terrorized by her sister. Raven was destined for greater evil. Robin was tormented by his own past mistakes and inner turmoil. But throughout the show, they all embraced a drastic change in their lives, striving for greater purposes in the present and in their futures. And I think using Terra and Beast Boy's relationship here was perfect to really drive home the main theme of this series and to finally end Teen Titans. Because like Beast Boy needing to accept that things can never go back to the perfect life he imagined for himself, we as the audience had to sooner or later embrace that Teen Titans was never coming back for a 6th season. There's always that small chance, but still nonetheless something that we all need to accept so we can learn to appreciate future anime TV shows and find their worth, even if it doesn't have the same impact on us as the Teen Titans did. though Teen Titans Go is still terrible. Thank you all so much for watching. This is a bit of an experimental video on my part, but I still enjoyed it nonetheless. If you like this video, be sure to comment what your thoughts are on my ranking or if I should do more like this in the future. Be sure to like and subscribe and hit the little notification bell so you get notified of future content releases. It helps out the channel a lot, it's free, and you can always unsubscribe later. I'm your favorite Tabloid, signing off.